Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet?
Putin ally visits Soviet nuclear testing site in Arctic amid rising tensions. Of course, there's been a lot of guys who have been visiting Putin and Putin vice versa. It says that Russia's defense minister has visited one of the Soviet Union's most famous nuclear testing sites as tensions around nuclear weapons simmer at the highest point in decades over the Ukraine war. Sergei Shoigu, a firm ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, visited the Arctic nuclear testing facilities at Novaya Zemlya, a Russian defense ministry said in a statement on Saturday. Shoigu flew over the Russia's central training ground with Alexei Likhachev, which was the head of the country's state nuclear company, Rosatom, which, again, just to remind you, we are still paying like $1 billion to them, almost half of their budget or something like that, from the U.S. to Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry added over the weekend that the central training ground was the site of more than 130 nuclear weapons tests from 1954 until 1990. Global nuclear tensions soared following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2023. Putin suspended Russia's participation in the New START Treaty, which puts limits on Moscow's and Washington's nuclear arsenals. In a speech to Russian citizens, the Kremlin leaders then said that Rosatom should be ready to resume nuclear testing if Washington does so first. It says, quote, "Of course, we will not be the first to do this," Putin said, according to Reuters translation. "But if the United States tests, then we will," he said. "No one must be under any dangerous illusions that global strategic parity can be destroyed." In February, a Russian official told state news agency TASS that Novaya Zemlya was, quote, "ready to resume nuclear testing if need be." The central training ground is now used for carrying out of tests of advanced samples of weapons and military equipment, the Russian Defense Ministry statement said. Without specifying further, Newsweek has reached out to the Russian Defense Ministry for comment via email. Essentially, they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The Arctic archipelago of Novaya Zemlya became a Soviet nuclear test site in the mid-1950s and was where Soviet scientists detonated the infamous thermonuclear Tsar Bomba in 1961, the largest nuclear weapon ever tested. It's the big one on the nuke map. That's the scary one that, multiple cities. And it says that a moratorium has been in place since the Cold War era, stopping nuclear testing. In late April, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov brushed off the suggestion that Moscow could resume nuclear testing, and it says saying that at the moment, everyone is sticking to the moratorium. So something is a little bit off here, and many people are questioning what the heck is really happening. We'll talk about this and much, much more. We'll cover Ukraine, we'll cover China, Japan, Poland, and all of the actions that are going on. There's massive, massive movements, and I actually called this about a week ago directly on my show. I said that Fugel Fam Military told us that they were moving and doing massive things. Now they're doing a parade. We'll show you that here in just a bit. But essentially, Poland is moving massive gear along the borders. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? knows that it's not good, people.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, remember you can always sign up for our notifications and email alerts. And of course, you can sign up for to know when we go live. It will actually notify you via Chrome. So make sure to go sign over at marfooglenews.com. Just up in the upper corner, you can find that, or it will automatically ask you if you want alerts. A lot of the times, I don't do that if I'm going to like some sort of news website. But ours is especially important because if you do say yes, you would like notifications, that just tells you when we go live or when we put out an article. So again, it's very useful and it's very easy and simple. Speaking of our website, you can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to share here today. If you're new here, there is a broad community here of all sorts of different kinds of people. Most are prepper oriented, and if that's your kind of thing, make sure to subscribe. And, of course, join in, get in the chat and meet some people. There's a lot of great people, a lot of military in our audience, which we constantly thank them for their service. And so we could have the freedom to even be here and talking to you. But yeah, go over to the website. You'll see that it is all done by thumbnail. Just look for today's thumbnail. We are in trouble, Poland right now. And then, of course, massive movements, polling popping off, and then the calm. And, of course, I believe it is the calm before the storm. Everyone is talking about the fires right now, and for good reason. I mentioned a couple things on Twitter, but I also mentioned, obviously, many of you know, I had a sister that lived there for a long time, and she said that she has never cried more over a natural disaster than she has this one. She has many, many friends, and I at first didn't talk to her after it first happened, and I did not realize how much she was actually affected by this. She worked, I won't say too much, but she worked for different resorts, and she was pretty high up, and she helped organize things. And essentially, she got to know a lot of the tourist sector because of her job, and all of these resorts are connected to all of the tourist stuff. She ended up being really, really, really affected by this. And Lahaina was, of course, a really, really kind of, I guess, touristy town. It was the front street was where everybody went, and it's really, really sad. And people are still reeling off of it. And I think this is going to be one of the worst disasters ever. I actually posted the missing and found list. I did not realize it was so big at first. It was over 5,000 names on there of names that people were essentially looking for that were missing. When at first we heard about 30 or 40 people had perished. I believe it's way higher than that. Again, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. First, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Remember, you can also find our wonderful mods down in the chat over at marfooglenews.com/friends. There's quite a few of them that are almost or at a milestone, so make sure to help them by subscribing. Just head right over there. But back just real quick to the Hawaii scenario. Of course, we're all praying here for everybody in Hawaii, but I was really, really blown away how much and how many people this actually affected. Because when the news first broke, and I'm talking about we didn't know anything, we heard about this thing, and of course everybody had a theory about what was happening with it. It was definitely horrendous. I mean, all of the different mainstream articles say it looks like a war zone, but it truly does. And as she texted me, I think it was the day after, and she essentially said, what was that? That next text that she sent me was pretty bad too. It was like after she was all done and you know, we already had a really, really bad time, she essentially told me that she found out that another place was just caught. Yeah, it says, and I saw that Kanapali is being evacuated this evening for F's sake. And she had a buddy that was out trolling for bodies a couple days ago. Terrifying. One other friend hasn't replied to me at all, but he's an ex-heli rescue military, so I'm just hoping he's out there using his skills and his kids are okay. Lost homes, not just in Lahaina, with fires in Kula and Kahi. Insane. Anyhow, never cried more than for a disaster. It is already so hard as it is. So if you're watching, I love you, and I'm so sorry you've been going through this. And It is crazy. I mean, I knew she was going to know somebody who was affected by that, but I didn't realize it was going to be so bad. So this kind of hit home for me. And of course, people are actually kind of utilizing it to get clicks and views and things like that. I'm here to say I'm praying for all of you in Hawaii, no matter what happened. The people there, if you see that docs list that they have, it's huge. And I would say 90% of each page is found, but there's so many that are still missing. So those people are probably not, I don't see how they could still be missing unless they're in a bunker or something. So I think that the numbers are going to be bad. And that's what all the locals say. They said, almost every video I've seen of locals there say they believe it's going to be worse. My sister did not say that, but the people that you see are saying that they don't know why they're not saying how many people are missing. That makes me think there's motivation not to let somebody else know that so many people perished. Like if it was somehow, somehow purposeful or something, like, with the conditions that were already there with no rain for months, if somebody did like purposely vandalize something or do something else, that would be pretty horrendous. Either way, very, very crazy stuff. Dex, do you want to comment on Shogu? Now, Shogu has not been in the news as much as he has been for the last 5 years, and then all of a sudden he's kind of popping up again. In fact, he was kind of out of the spotlight for a little bit there, and now he's popping back in.
Well, yeah, certainly. Obviously, he was wasn't he the one Wagner was pointing the finger at directly? But yes, I think if anybody in significant position, especially somebody who is allied directly with Putin, is visiting the nuke testing facility, they're doing that for a reason. They're doing it. They don't just go there on vacation. It's not a vacation spot. There's not roller coasters there. It's not great dining. You don't have great business meetings there. You go there because it's a facility where they explode very large nuclear devices in the past, and that's a testing facility. So for him to inspect or visit that, it wasn't nostalgic. If anything, it was a sign or at least a message that they wanted to convey. Now, whether it means anything of significance, that's for us to sort of sit back and wait and see. But they went there for a reason, and now everybody's talking about it. And it's just like a lot of the other, sort of threats that have been made using the word nuclear by them. They've said it. They've pointed at it. They've talked about, they built this, they put this in the sub, they've done, X, Y, Z ad nauseum about nuclear, but they haven't actually used them yet. So the real question is just yet another one of those, notches that we just write off, or is this, a significant piece of information that we may actually see them start to test something out there, or start to actually, do something with nukes that they haven't done before.
Now, do you guys remember when Graham and Blumenthal did that? They did that public conference about how they wanted to push a resolution through, or I think they wanted to pass a resolution or put forward a resolution that essentially that the Congress would support an immediate Article 5 if anything happened to any of the nuclear power plants, including Zaporizhia, or if there was any kind of attack on, energy sector, this or that. And at that one, and I still think it's so weird. And people, I think Dex even said, like, yeah, I've seen him do that before. But they had this card, and it had, President Biden believes the threat of nuclear weapons is real, like the word real, like it's not fake. And for a lot of the drones out there that just go, oh, mainstream media said something, the ones that literally follow anything that one side of the aisle says and go, oh, then it's real. It's not fake news. Okay, it's real. Then, yeah, it could have been used for that kind of ganda. But the fact that they brought that card and they just kept showing it the whole time, like they were holding it up, they passed it to each other. And I just thought it was so corny. I'm like thinking the actual fact of it is somebody literally took a 10 by 10 card and printed this quote that was just something they could have just said specifically. So, I mean, you would think that that's for people to take pictures of it So even if it's a picture and they don't actually read the article, they see them holding up a card that says, president that says that nuclear threat is real. And of course, look at fast forward. They're mentioning that, and they keep mentioning that. That was burned into people's brains. It says U.S. Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines told U.S. lawmakers in May 2023 that it was, quote, very unlikely Moscow would resort to using nuclear weapons. However, U.S. President Joe Biden described the threat of tactical nuclear weapons deployment as, quote, real in mid-June. Do you see? I mean, like, that's a really vague thing. Like, oh yeah, it's real. Well, no, it's real. Of course it's real, right? Why even say that? Like, oh, the threat of it is real. So has it been fake for, 50 years or something? I guess some of you probably believe that either way. But again, why do they do this? My mind goes to, what are they playing here? What Ganda game are they playing here? That's what I'm wondering. Either way, the Shogu thing, the mutiny, the Wagner group, what NATO and Poland is doing right now, my belief is that whether this is manufactured and there's people high-fiving and it's really these 8 guys at a table at the Grove, going, yep, we're going to do this, whether it's that or not, I believe there will be a World War III, because a lot of us can't wrap our head around that World War III is good for the people at the very, very top. They don't care if we perish. They don't have a conscience about us. Most all of us would say, oh, well, they couldn't do that. People will perish. Children will perish. Women will perish. It doesn't matter. They don't care. In fact, if you look at their actual statements, they're saying they would really love it if there was less of us on this planet. So I don't know why people cannot wrap their heads around it. War is good for money. War is good for the military-industrial complex. War is good for everything. And it's good for restructuring power. So if they are high-fiving behind closed doors, they're doing it, and they've probably already decided who's going to take over next. And it might not be the U.S. That's the freaky part. Or the U.S., again, is not the top anymore, because there have been groups up above that are not regional, that are more global, that are literally above that. Maybe they're above China. All of these people that are supposedly enemies, they're telling everybody what to do. And they want it to work a different way. They'll put this through. I think we are absolutely in a world war right now. I think it's already started. I think people need to prep yesterday. And most of you agree with me, but for those who don't, I would just highly stress, look at how this is moving forward step by step by step. If you think that all of these thousands of steps every single day, 40 steps forward, are all going to reverse and everything's going to go back to normal and there's not going to be a war, or what are people hoping, that it's just going to be a tiny proxy war here or proxy there forever? We've had a world war and a big war every so often. It is here. I mean, it's coming. The thing that scares me is not war overseas, is our grid going down here, because realistically, it's very unlikely that they're going to be dropping in with parachutes like Red Dawn. It could be realistic that they are already here. It could be realistic that they would do something cyber. It would be super realistic for them to do an EMP. So just pay attention to this. I hope everybody is watching what they're doing over there, and whether it's propaganda or not, something is massive happening right now. And then Maui wildfires, now deadliest U.S. blaze in 100 years, only 3% of the area searched. So that actually, given how much time has already passed, that is really insane. That only 3% has been searched. They said it looks like a war zone. I could see how it would be hard to travel through these areas. It says Hawaii officials confirm the death toll has climbed to 96, which of course everyone local has been saying that they think it's in the 1,000 plus. It says that following the catastrophic wildfire, and remember, they've found 96 and they've only done 3% of the area. I mean, what if we do find out that thousands perished, like worse than a 2001 event kind of thing? And what if later on, a couple months from now, they say, oh yeah, by the way, we found evidence that this was somebody? That would be really freaky. But Hawaii officials confirmed the death toll has climbed to 96 following the catastrophic wildfire that swept across a resort town in the island of Maui last week, making it the deadliest U.S. wildfire in a century. Maui Police Department around 9 p.m. said that there were 96 confirmed fatalities. It says that the Maui County local government wrote in an update Sunday night that this is an uptake from the previous count of 93, and that cadaver dogs are searching devastated neighborhoods, and the number is likely to go up higher. Well, I would think if they're only 3% in, then yeah, it's going to be bad. And this is the worst fire since they've had since 1918, over 100 years ago. And that was in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So this is now the nation's worst fire in over 100 years. So again, there's actually some cool links in this one. We'll put this on the website, marfooglenews.com. You can go over to the website. Inside this article, there's actually a link to drone footage, which we can't show because of copyright, but I would highly recommend going over and seeing it. Otherwise, we have pictures from our last show on Friday, of course, showing the from the plane images, and it looks like a war zone. It's really insane. It's really bad. Heath Spear, thank you for popping in and doing a super chat. Thank you so much for supporting Independent. Thank you, everybody that is in the chat right now. In fact, we've got a lot of great people here. Thank you, Captain Opana, Heavy Ordnance. Let's see here, Jay Gerd, Zen1AZ. We have DB, says it was a warning. Zenwin, thank you. OGBT, the tunnels on the island too, ? I don't know. You would think they would have something there. And then Cabin Girl says, quote, wildfire. Anita Torres, rethink, what's going on? George Doughty, Conquest Josh, Three Strikes Entertainment. Let's see here, Jay Feiss, Disaster Prediction app. Hey, what's going on? And then Snap Out of It, Sign Digger, and Wide Awake and Angry. What is happening, guys? Thank you for joining us. And then Dex, do you want to explain this tweet? Basically, not too many people are happy with the response of JB.
Yeah, he was asked specifically about the catastrophic event in Maui and the loss of life. And his response, and I think some even suggested as he was also smiling as he did it, but his response was no comment. He didn't really take that as an opportunity to at least embrace the nation or embrace the people that were affected by this, show some empathy or reiterate that the government is, putting its full effort behind, taking care of the people it's, here to serve. So a lot of people were upset about it. Of course, the White House had to come out and make a statement, but when the White House makes a correction like that, it doesn't mean as much as what it does when it comes out of the person's mouth. Now, the former pres came out today and did his own video, but that's more political, I think, or as it relates to the campaign. But it was much more appropriate. But yeah, everybody was up in arms over this. Hey, I did want to say one thing about Maui real quick, if you give me a moment. I know a lot of people are looking at the reasons why, and I know I am too. And don't have the answers, and I don't think a lot of us have the answers, and we're all looking. There's a lot of information out there, though, that can really be used against us, and we need to be really smart when we're looking at this stuff. And I'm not trying to say that somebody didn't do this. Somebody could have actually done this, and it could have been done from up high or beside it or down low. It could have been anywhere. And I think that's important, but I think it's important for us to pay attention to certain things. There's a lot of little stuff that gets thrown around, cars melting. Well, don't forget, aluminum is the majority. The car itself on the outside is steel, but everything on the inside is plastic and aluminum, and it all melts at 1,200 degrees or less. We heard that guy that we put on our show. We showed a video of him say there was tornadic-like events. Well, those are called fire whirls, and they're really, with the heat raising up and the winds blasting by, they turn into these swirls, and it creates up to 2,000 degrees of temperature in a flame in the fire. So it is possible to have these high temperatures. So it doesn't mean that something didn't happen there that was nefarious, but it also doesn't mean that, a lot of what people are telling you or trying to point at, you got to make sure you're looking at some of the actual facts. Like, trees can survive. They may not live long after, but they still stand. Just because they didn't burn to the ground as a crisp doesn't mean it wasn't a real forest fire, because forest fires actually leave trees behind. So I'm not saying that everybody that's looking into the whole energy type event here, I'm looking at it like that too. But there's a lot of stuff out there that people are getting. They're just throwing out there willy nilly, and you guys need to.
Okay, so a good example is like a guy on Twitter, Matt, put out a video of a transformer blowing 3 months ago in Chile. Okay, so when something like that gets put out there, then people crop it and turn it into their own and say, this is Mountain Dew over here. And they do it in this time period of Hawaii. Then people share that and go, look, here's a gas station in Hawaii that's getting lit up. That is so easy for government and for these agencies and these groups that go in, and they will try to knock off everybody that ends up repeating that and then attach it and then use that in Congress and things like this to come down on free speech, come down on channels, come down on everything else. That's the big thing. And we have seen it time and time again, so we know what we're talking about on this. We have seen some of our peers, and sometimes it's on accident. They'll repost something, and maybe they didn't have time that day to really thoroughly check it through. Oops. They didn't have time to thoroughly check it through because I'm sure there was some of our peers that may have done it on accident, right? But like even if right, the video from like the Chile transformer, it does look crazy. There's something that comes out of the sky, boom, boom, boom. I personally saw that it literally has 3 things that came out of it. So that video in particular, I believe that was like a lens flare that happened from a crappy lens and a dirty lens. And when you see the other angle of it, it most definitely looks like a transformer blowing up. It was huge. It was suspicious, but it also had nothing to do with Hawaii. And when people then take that, mislead people to think, oh, this is something in Hawaii, that's screwed up. Now, there were other ones that were in Hawaii. Now they're saying that it was flipped or this or that. I don't know about all that because I also know that they can, after the fact, I'm sure some 3-letter agency could come in, go and pick and choose and then put out an article about how it's flipped, even do a flipped version and then say this is the original, and obviously you can see it's not. Now you can fake any video, and you can also fake debunk a video too. If there's a real legit video, they could debunk it in a second with some sort of BS article and a group and Snopes and all of this, and then literally a 3-letter agency could go in there with their technology and make an original. But as far as like sharing the bad stuff, we have to be careful because it literally, the mistakes of one can mess up for many. It can mess up all of us. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, you're spot on. And the other one you guys should look at is what's called shutter. What's the term for it? I already forgot it.
Rolling shutter. Rolling
shutter. Thank you. That's the other one that gets used all the time. That somebody says, "Look at this light from God or something like that from the sky." And it's there is a camera effect, especially in video cameras, especially in your cell phone cameras. Depending on which way the camera is oriented, it could be horizontal or it could be vertical. If it's vertical, it's going to look like it's coming down from the sky, where that light effect can happen. So pay attention to that stuff. Look into it because you want to make sure you're looking at the real thing, not somebody else's misunderstanding or somebody else's clout-driven experience, which is horrible. The other one that is happening, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, it's going to be in our overflow, but it is the fact that there's a good opportunity for the rich to take over this land. And that is absolutely something that happens whenever land gets demolished like this. They will come in and they will redevelop, and they will redevelop it in the ways that are beneficial to them because they're the ones with the money, not the people who got left behind without money. So that's absolutely going to happen. That's just a fact of the way our capitalistic society works.
So I just so people I make sure that people are aware of what I was talking about, just so people don't confuse it with other ones here. Let's see here. Dex, can you grab me the Chile video? The newscast? Sure. Yeah. So this is the one I was talking about. I'll pause this here so I don't. This is the one that I was talking about. So this had a newscast. There's multiple angles of this, which some people are not sharing. This is the one I'm saying is a lens flare. On the high def version.
And he happened to catch the 6
on the high def version of this original video, there's multiple lines that come out of the sky, and they all originate from the light. I've been doing video for 10 years now. I have this happen on a regular basis with my camera. So I'm not saying that other videos aren't, but I don't believe this one. That's my opinion, but everybody has their opinion on stuff like this. Yeah, right there. See how there's another line right here? Or that could be a double, but I don't think so. And why would they do to a random transformer in Chile? Because that is the original one is most definitely in Chile. So I'm not saying anything about other ones. Probably get flack from somebody in the community that accidentally, posted this and didn't know it was in Chile. But my point is people are saying that this is Hawaii. That's not Hawaii. There's clearly a newscast, not this TikTok one, it's verifiable that that's older. So if people go in and say that that's Hawaii, that kind of stuff gets picked up and people get knocked off for it. And then, huge amounts of us all start getting hit. So then they make an excuse, something like Matters, that, these groups, they'll go in and they'll make an argument. They'll bring an article and something to Congress and they go, these need to be stopped. And then it gives them an excuse to start wiping people out. And they don't have to have everybody's approval of it. All they have to do is make a good enough case, and then they knock people out. Dex, go ahead.
And I think it's the same video you already showed, but I put it in there. I also have the rolling shutter examples, not the one we were talking about, but just the good examples of them for people. But look, this is not to say don't dig. You should be digging. You should be asking questions. You should be, looking at every angle on this. Just be careful out there with what's being told to you, and make sure you do some research on it to validate. Because a lot of people are just throwing stuff out quick and reacting, and it can be very emotional and very passionate and look at it and go, ooh, that just tugs at my heartstrings. But, be careful. That's all. I'm digging. I'm going to keep digging. I'm curious exactly what started this, how it happened, why, and who's going to benefit from it. And, all the questions that everybody wants answers for. I'm going to keep digging myself.
And by the way, somebody's talking about what Dutch posted. I don't believe this is what Dutch posted. Dutch posted something else. I'm talking specifically about the Chile video that people reposted as Hawaii. Just changing the location and the time frame of it, that's shady. Unless it was done on accident, then in that case, people make mistakes. But then if they come out and fix it, hey, who knows? I think that's lens flare, but that still could be due. But it's definitely not related to to Hawaii. So I don't think it should be used in the context of Hawaii unless they have a matching one from Hawaii, which that one may be, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but I've gotten enough lens flare off of things like this that's what it looks like to me. All right. And then thousands of troops and tanks patrol Warsaw streets in show of military strength. Now, this is a trip. So this is just Wednesday or Thursday? I told you, Fugel family military. I literally did specifically. In fact, it was the last show on Friday. And I said that something was popping off. And that specifically that they were moving gear and military stuff. And there was no news about this parade. Not mainstream anyways. And I don't even believe there was any kind of anything about this. If there was, we definitely did not know about it. But they said things were going on in Poland. And in fact, if you look back to the show, in fact, it should be in the overflow. But yeah, so Stratcom, Polish border ready for war. This video that was on the 11th. Actually, it was technically on the 10th. This show, I actually talked about this at the very end. And if you go back, you can see exactly what I was talking about. Yeah. Or you can reach out to one of my mods. All of my mods can communicate with me as well in Poland on what is going on. there is many reasons why Poland, ex-military that have fought, that they may be needed to reinforce smaller towns. This is coming from somebody who essentially to make a call out. And if people know information on this, and then look what happens. Now they're doing this drill exercise. Check this thing out, man. This is just this is nuts. So let me make sure I put this up on here. Look at that. Oh, it sounds like they have some dumb music on it. But look at this video here. Is that they're calling that a parade, right? That looks more like logistics. Again, I don't think that they need to do a parade. I think this is a really good excuse to move a whole lot of military and not cause any panic. There are folks in Poland that do not believe that everything is okay. They're putting dragon's teeth around the border. They are, of course, moving tanks. They're moving gear. They're moving artillery. They're moving all sorts of gear. I have said for a long time now, Japan and Poland are the two hot spots in this world that we need to be watching. And, of course, everything is going on this. And we've said that 6 months, and now it's progressed. And it's just keeps going back to Poland, and it keeps going back to Japan. This is like massive. And then we have actually another video here. South Korean K2 Black Panther tanks purchased by Poland driving through the streets of Warsaw. Check that out. Another one with these. What is that? Cartman song or something? Look at that. Driving through the streets of Warsaw. I don't see people lined up. I don't see anybody on the side of the street watching this so-called parade. And then, again, it says August 15th is the day of the Polish Army helmet. And it says, and no helmet, Poland is not financing this EU funds and or 1% of the Polish economy. Warsaw 2018. Jeez, what a choice, man. What a choice for music. But this is the 2018. So that's a parade. Doesn't look like the previous. And let's see here. And it said thousands of soldiers and tanks have been filmed on the streets of Warsaw as Poland defends itself against the threat of Wagner mercenaries in Belarus. Footage on social media showed long lines of military vehicles moving slowly through the Polish capital in preparation for a military parade. It comes as Poland is putting 10,000 troops on its border with Belarus due to tensions with the Russian ally. And remember, there's actually already 10,000 plus troops, close to 15,000 from one estimate, and then close to 25,000 before the 10,000 added. That actually came from a Fugel family military member who actually stopped through that area to train. Poland is holding its Army Day to celebrate the 103rd anniversary of the Battle of Warsaw, and the display has extra significance this year as it will be giving a message to Vladimir Putin of its military strength. The country defense ministry tweeted, "The service of soldiers, Polish army makes our border safe." Now, the thing that people question here is, yes, there's the parade, and the parade has happened before. But the movements that are being made from folks on the ground are saying that they are actually going way out of bounds of where this normal thing happens. Even the practice runs, they are actually moving separate lines of tanks to different places in the border. And every time somebody asks about it, they say, oh, that's just practice for the parade. According to the folks that we've talked to in Poland, they said that there are at least 4 groups of these tanks things, and they're going through different places. They're essentially spreading out through the country, and they're saying it's all preparing for this parade. Well, I don't understand then why would it be separate groups of tanks, separate groups of everything? But again, I'm not in Poland, so if you have any information on this, again, we called out on Friday and asked Fuglefam military and ex-military to let us know if they had any information on this that we could share, and that is again what came out of that. So I think that this is preparation for whatever is about to pop off, and unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to stop what is happening right now. I don't think that we all have to sell our house and move to a bunker. But I do think that 100% of people should be prepared for anything right now. Pretty crazy if you ask me. And then Dex, do you want to talk about the Russian warship fires warning shots on cargo ship in the Black Sea?
Yeah, sure. And, real quick, my opinion on the Poland thing, it's an obvious opportunity. We've said it all the time when it comes to drills, but under the cover of a parade to move equipment. So with everything going on, a parade is not the most important thing. And if it's this big and like you said, as much movement is going on, it's probably being used to accomplish something else. That's for sure. Hey, so with the cargo ships, so with the Black Sea grain deal being turned off, with Russia saying, hey, all cargo ships moving through are going to be treated as if they are militarized. And then, of course, UKR said the same thing. Well, now they've put that to the test. They actually had an incident where they decided to fire upon a cargo ship because that ship was not heeding to their demands to stop for an inspection. So they actually set off warning shots across not necessarily across the bow, but in a way that got their attention and got them to actually stop. So we said this was going to escalate at some point, and as we've seen this kind of tension down in the Strait of Hormuz with all the oil tankers and the country of Iran and what they're doing, and the escalation that's happening there. Well, we expect to see similar escalations, especially around the cargo ships, because equipment is moving in and out of there. And it can be hidden inside of cargo ships, and both sides are going to start treating them as if they're military. So that means they're going to be demanding inspections. That means they're going to be confronting. And with confrontation comes heated opportunities or mistakes, or maybe rightfully so, they needed to stop the ship, and that's the way they did it. So we're going to start to see more of this, in my opinion. It's going to be unfortunate, though, when it gets beyond just a warning and something actually happens, and we start to see cargo ships that are, not military being sunk. That will be the big sign that things are really heating up.
And there we go. And we'll follow what ends up going down with this specific thing, but I bet you they'll just do an update. There's a lot of these kind of instances where it could get out of hand, but they end up talking and they fix it. Well, we'll see. And then, Carol, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the super chat and the super sticker. Winton Dupree says, can they put the Fulton County Courthouse first on their list? We might have a CV2 before we have a World War III. Winton Dupree, it's since, what was it, January of 2023 or something? January of this year, it was crazy December of last year, we heard about the crematoriums that were filling up in China again, and there was all that chatter about all that, and we started seeing those crazy videos again of like the people in the streets and people shaking and like all that, the same thing that happened back in 2019. And I really thought for a second there that it was going to happen again like right then. But who knows? They might have something in store. I was always like, I didn't want to say it, but I think that my personal opinion is that I think that China could do something horrendous, and that it's in the plans right now. What I've been talking about for the last few weeks with people coming in, sort of a Red Dawn scenario type of thing, and this could all be part of a bigger thing. But I think we have lived the largest cover-up in our lifetimes, and even if you're 100 years old, the largest cover-up in a generation or in a century over the last 4 years. The whole thing. There's so many shady things about the last 4 years, it's not even funny. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Sharon Davis, thank you. Bible Talk 777 says, seems like it had to be multiple areas instead of one. Fire departments can handle one spot on that island, not like it was in the middle of a thick forest. Can handle one spot on that island, not like it was in the middle of a thick forest. I don't know the personal, I don't personally know the whole area there. I don't know what's out of shot of the cameras, but I'll have to ask my sister about that one. Like, what is the area like for miles in either direction? Either way, though, they say that they didn't get rain since May. I mean, I know that I saw 4 fires start in one day here when we had that same kind of thing. We had like 65 days or something without rain. And we're, I'm in Seattle. We don't get super hot weather. But I do remember it was so dry driving on the freeway, and I saw 3 different freeway fires and then pulled off. And at the exit, there was a 4th fire. All 4 were totally separate. One was on one side, one was the other. I don't think somebody was like throwing cigarette butts out the window. I think it was genuinely that bad and that dry that it happened like that. So there could be either way. And then Liz W, Zen1AZ, thank you so much for your support. Thank you guys. And spectacular fire at suspected shell manufacturer in Moscow suburb. We'll talk about that here in a second. We will actually be, I think we'll have to, I'll add something here too. Before we move on though, if you guys don't have backup power, I'd highly recommend checking out Energy. Energy makes the best solar generators in my opinion, because they are modular. They can be changed. They can be altered over time. If you want to start out with, say, the base unit, later on you can add UPS to it. You can add superchargers. You can add accessories that are super low power. You can add more panels. You can add the ability to actually triple the amount of input. There's all sorts of cool things. It works like Lego. You can actually add the boxes, essentially the batteries or the mods, just like Lego. They all stack on top of each other, and they can be connected. Up to 96 batteries it can be expanded to. So this is the huge lifesaver in any kind of event where you don't have power, to be able to put out panels or to have power on demand stored on the batteries ready to go, so you can just turn the lights back on, turn all of your stuff back on, is invaluable. It is a game changer for prep. All of your cool prep, tools that you have in your arsenal, none of them match a generator. Now, gas generators are great, but again, we've seen in previous disasters, gas was almost impossible unless you had barrels and barrels and barrels. And then even if you do have those barrels, once they're gone, how are you going to get more in an SHTF? The great part about solar is that you put out those panels every single day that the sun rises, you have free power coming in. Not only that, they're silent. This machine, when it's running, when you're powering your things, unless it's at completely maxed out, it is absolutely silent. And when it's completely maxed out, you might hear a little fan, but it's nothing you could hear 30 feet away, let alone 3 blocks away, which you can hear when you do a gas-powered generator. Gas is going to be hard to store for most people in the city, so I highly recommend this for those. And then also, it will be hard to get once everything hits the fan, or I guess I should say if everything hits the fan. Little bit of a pessimist there with everything that's going on. But at the same time, the optimist part is you will get a huge discount and you'll be helping our independent channel. We're on our own. We have to do everything, again, by ourselves. As far as if we get attacked, we have to deal with it ourselves. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company protecting us. We don't have a multi-channel network. We have the Foogle fam. So thank you guys for doing so. And in return, you get a discount and you get something that could definitely save your life or keep you going. All right, guys, go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Highly recommend the folding panels because they have handles. You can bring them with them. You can literally grab your generator, a few panels, and walk right out the door. That's what's awesome about this. Or you can make it a whole home system that could power a mansion. So make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and code Marfoogle. All right. And then Spectacular fire at suspected shell manufacturer in Moscow suburb. A large-scale fire broke out on the suburbs of the Russian capital on the afternoon of August 13th, Mash Telegram channel reports. Puffs of thick black smoke are rising into the air with the Polygon industrial zone in Dunskoy Highway. The fire has already spread over 2,700 square meters. According to the preliminary information, a fertilizer warehouse is on fire. First, plastic pallets allegedly caught fire, with the fire then spreading to the wooden pallets. A cause of the fire has not been reported. A large-scale explosion occurred on the grounds of Zagorsk Optical and Mechanical Plant on August 9th. According to the Russian media, the plant was developing a new generation Russian bomber. So, by all means, this looks like it very well was some sort of attack. It says video of shells near the explosion site were also posted online. This may indicate that the pyrotechnics warehouse was really a weapons arsenal. So, there have been a lot of things exploding there lately, and many of us are looking at this and going, okay, yeah, this isn't going to turn around and just become peaceful overnight. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat below. Speaking of chat, let's head over and say hello. iPet Mermaid, what is happening? Callie Singh, Bug Nana. We've got lots of OG Foogle fam here. Stephen McMahon says maybe Poland using this parade to ruse to hide troop movements to eastern frontier with Belarus. I don't even think it's just with the Belarus border. From what I hear, they are spreading it out across 4 different areas. So I think it's bigger than that, actually, which is definitely concerning. So I don't think it's all about the parade, but, you know, they always have... governments of the world and NATO, they always have a really good way to camouflage these things. Obviously, they want to camouflage it, and I think it's less, they're not trying to, like, this isn't something that Russia doesn't know, like, loose slips sink ships. Russia knows exactly what they're doing in Poland. They have satellite images. They're following their military. They're following all of the tanks. It's more for the public. They tell the public because they don't want us to panic. They don't want us to go on the internet and say, oh my gosh, this is all happening. They don't want people to panic. They want people to be in their own little zone and not know what's happening until the last second. Dex, do you want to go over Vladimir Putin's spies targeting Elon Musk's Starlink with malware, claims Ukraine?
Well, we got to take it with a grain of salt coming out of, you know, one side of this conflict, especially a side that is very much dependent on these Starlink communications, although they've been told they can't use them for certain parts of the conflict, according to Elon, although some of that got rescinded. But apparently they're suggesting now that they're seeing that the other side, Russia, is actually targeting those systems to try to bring them offline. And they're doing it with malware and trying to find ways to prevent them from functioning. And that makes a lot of sense because, as we know, UKR is heavily dependent on it because a lot of their infrastructure has been hit, especially in the areas where the heavy conflict is going on. You know, some of those towns just look completely obliterated. So they're, you know, thinking that there's lines of internet running around the buildings isn't happening, not even wireless. So that leaves satellite as their only means of communication. And that's not just for people to surf the web and check their email and post selfies on social media. That is really for the military to move around. They need that. They need to be able to have that type of communication and have that backbone. And we know that a lot of that has been critical to some of the things they were doing. It's even been suggested that some of the systems have been some of the weapon systems have been trying to use that internet. I think that's where some of the conflict gets in with Elon, because he doesn't want his platform to be used for the actual the kinetic capabilities that are in war. He wanted, you know, it's fine for information, but he didn't want it necessarily to be used that way. So nonetheless, they're suggesting that it's being under attack. We know also that the physical satellites were threatened at one point. If you remember, we reported Putin saying they were an option. That was an option for him, was to go after those individual satellites. And we know they have technology. So it's not just a cyber event. Cyber is one of them. The other is a physical. They have the capability to take down satellites. They have the capability to reach out with a claw and just break a satellite. It doesn't take a lot. They're not hardened armored vehicles. They're super lightweight, devices, because they can't have a lot of weight. So you can probably break it with half of a swing of a baseball bat, to be honest. So they've developed not only the capability to shoot them down, but also to just reach out and grab it with a clamp and break it into pieces, or break a piece of it off so it doesn't work. So this is a big target. It will continue to be, because it's so critical to one side of the conflict, the UKR side. So I expect that we'll continue to see this happen, whether it be from malware or even the potential threat from in the sky about actually going after them physically. And with that, I want to say that with the potential of hacking this, I think it's a big deal in the sense that the hacking side of the conflict, the cyber side of the conflict, has been real, in the sense that we've seen Russia go after the infrastructure components inside UKR, and we've seen them go after other components from a cyber point of view. Before they've launched, before they've done certain things, they would go in and do an attack. So it's not outside of the realm of possibility that they're going after Starlink, but definitely something we want to pay attention to.
There's so many different camps of people that believe that that Elon is like not part of this, that that there's these different groups of people involved. I guess my personal thought is that there's so many alliances between all of these people. Like, something may very well be, this stuff could all be done on purpose. All these stories could come out. They could all be, high-fiving behind closed doors with the whole Starlink thing. Now they're saying they're possibly targeting it with malware. I wonder if there's going to be a setup for some sort of big thing that affects everybody, and all of a sudden it triggers something much bigger. And then Russia is to equip new nuclear submarines with hypersonic missiles. Alexei Rachmanov, president of the United States Shipbuilding Corporation, delivers a speech during a farewell ceremony as Russia's floating nuclear power plant, Academic Lomonosov, leaves the service base of Rosatom Flot Company for a journey along the Northern Sea route in Chukotka from Murmansk. It says Russia is in the process of equipping its new nuclear submarines with hypersonic Zircon missiles. The head of Russia's largest shipbuilder told the RIA agency. It says, quote, multi-purpose nuclear submarines of the Yasin M project will be equipped with the Zircon missile system on a regular basis. Alexei Rachmanov, chief executive officer of the United Shipbuilding Corporation, and it says work in this direction is already underway. Yasin-class submarines, also known as Project 885M, are nuclear-powered cruise missile submarines built to replace Soviet-era nuclear attack submarines as part of a program to modernize the Army and fleet. The sea-based Zircon hypersonic missiles have a range of 900 kilometers or 560 miles and can travel at several times the speed of sound, making it difficult to defend against them. Which would be even worse if this thing popped up 200 miles off of a coast and launched one of these things. It'd be pretty hard to knock down if they didn't get it right away. President Vladimir Putin said earlier this year that Russia would start mass supplies of Zircon missiles as part of the country's efforts to boost its nuclear forces. The Russian multi-purpose frigate Admiral Gorshkov, which has tested its strike capabilities in the Western Atlantic Ocean earlier this year, has already been equipped with Zircon missiles. So that would be pretty bad if they ended up popping out of nowhere and launching these things. There's a constant debate whether, especially in our community, if they can even do this, if it's fake or if it's that. The thing is a lot of people do not want to admit that Russia has this kind of capability because it's scary as hell. especially either way, if they're losing or winning, which it sounds like they are not losing, that they could definitely push back. Uh, Seems like they're preparing for something much bigger. So I'm hoping that these things are never used. And then Zelensky vows retaliation after Russia targets Kherson with shelling. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Sunday vowed retaliation after Russia attacked the Kherson region of Ukraine with shelling, killing at least 7 people and wounding others. It says, quote, everywhere our warriors retaliate against the occupiers' terror. There is not a single day when Russian evil does not get our completely fair retaliation. It says every occupier destroyed, every piece of Russian equipment burned, fire instead of their headquarters and warehouses, the very eloquent smoke on Kerch Bridge, and more. All this proves that we will not leave any of Russia's crimes unanswered. Essentially, listing all of their strikes all the confirmed strikes that they did back into Russia. I don't know if this is going to be in a Ukrainian history book in 40 years from now as like this grandiose speech. But one thing I think of is how this is not going to go away. All of these strikes he listed and all of the strikes in Ukraine, like this is a massive thing that's not going to go away. And in my personal belief, it could have. They could have literally gone in and fixed this right away. They could still do it. They could go in there and say, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, and then tell UKR, we're not going to help you, we're not going to do anything unless you guys work something out, and then boom, it would be over. But there's a bigger purpose to it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that they are keeping this going because it's about to get worse, or do you think that it's all Ukraine's fault and it's because they're stubborn and Russia's stubborn? I don't know. And real quick, just want to remind you, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can protect your cars, your trucks, your vehicles, your ATVs, your generators, even your solar generators with an EMP shield that will protect you against EMP, solar flares, and lightning. It can protect you against a Carrington level event. Plus, it can protect you against all 3 phases of an EMP. This is the same company that DHS, DOD, and other agencies are using. They are on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. And it's Keystone military tested, made in America all the way down to the screws. So make sure to go check them out. Again, these are made here. They are an awesome company. They pay all of their people and the handmade manufacturers all an American wage. So again, make sure to go over and check them out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Use the code MARF. You'll not only be giving us a commission and helping us reinforce the growth of our channel, but you will also be saving your own butt in the event of any of these events, including, of course, solar flares or Carrington level event or an EMP, not to mention protecting your house against lightning. All right, that's again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Dex, the Russian ruble is now worth less than a penny.
Yeah, this is this is what we expected to happen when the conflict kicked off over a year and a half ago, and it actually did. It actually dropped immediately. Everybody thought the sanctions, all the stuff was going to hurt their economy, is going to hurt the ruble, and it did. But then miraculously, excuse me, it bounced back, and it came back stronger than ever. It was running really high, doing amazing for them. And of course, they had all sorts of ways they were propping up their economy and all sorts of workarounds they were using for sanctions. Well, apparently that was short-lived because we're at the point now. It's looking like the ruble has fallen. It has fallen all the way back down to where it was right after the beginning of the conflict, where everyone expected it to be, given that the state of where the sanctions should have affected them, the cost of the conflict, and everything else. So yeah, this is a big crushing blow to their economics. The question is, will it sustain? Will it keep going lower? If it goes any lower, it's going to get really bad for them. Or will it rebound? That's what I guess a lot of people are looking at now. Economic numbers are looking better in other parts of the world, especially here in the U.S. At least they say. So that could play into this, the fact that the dollar may be booming up, which would then put the ruble further down. But the fact that this is hurting them and they can't trade in USD or anything else besides this, it is not a good sign for people over there, because their rubles are becoming very worthless.
Well, and I wonder, but then we see something, the next day, and it says that it's all good, that that they're doing absolutely fine. I just wonder how much of this is going to be temporary, how much it changes, how much it fluctuates. And then AI can now steal your passwords with 95% accuracy by listening to you type. This is nuts. I think that we covered, like, there was a some sort of device that people were doing. It was a camera that looked at your finger. It was like this laser keyboard, and everybody was thinking, like, couldn't that, like, if it was made in China, and we were thinking, couldn't that watch you? It literally has to watch you to tell where on this hologram computer, keyboard, where you're typing. We were thinking, like, couldn't that, literally take down your passwords? Shoot, there's apps like TikTok that just straight up do that with permission. But this is AI can literally listen to you type and take your password from that. Researchers found an AI-driven attack that can steal passwords with up to 95% accuracy by listening to what you type on your keyboard. Cornell University researchers trained an AI model on the audio recordings of people typing, and the AI learned to identify different sounds that each key makes. They tested it on a nearby phone's integrated microphone, listening for keystrokes on a MacBook Pro. When the microphone picked up the sound of a keystroke, the AI model could identify the key that was pressed with 95% accuracy. One thing I don't get about this is different computers have different sounds. So does it only work? Like, do you have to pick, like, oh, that the person I'm trying to take their password is on a MacBook Pro, or they're on a Lenovo, or they're on a Dell? Like, is there different sounds for different computers? I highly doubt they all sound the same. They all do the click, clack, clickety, clack, which apparently does something. But how do they do that? Dex, even if they train it to hear certain, like, so U sounds different than E, or R sounds different than B. I don't understand how that would even be possible.
It's actually a little bit more than that. It's understanding the time it takes you to press one key to the next. It can determine. It's basically learning that, if you're pressing an H and then an I to say hi, the distance it takes you and how fast you can press that when you're typing, that's what it's learning. And it's learning the speed at which the click sounds are made to then accurately predict what you're typing on the 3 rows, or 4 if you count the numbers, of letters that are there on the keyboard, and how far they're spaced out. And most people are taught how to type on a regular keyboard, the 40 style with, the 2 hands. I guess if you're hunting and pecking with one finger, that's probably the 5% that it wasn't able to pick up. But the others were not a problem.
But somebody made a comment that they're burning up. Are you guys in Washington? I don't know if you Derringer, is that what it was? Are you in Washington? Because, man, it has been crazy here. So we have a heat advisory right now. We have 2 ACs going, and unfortunately, I can't even have an AC when I'm doing this because it's so loud. But they are upstairs, and both of them going. The inside of my house is still 89 degrees. So it's 90 degrees, and it's getting hotter over the day. And, like, we even keep it going all night, because if you keep it going all night and it gets cold, like, we've told our kids, like, you just basically have to bundle up, and, like, if you get cold, we're not turning the heat on. We're literally going to just, bundle up and make it an ice box at night. Because when you do that, the next day, it's way better for the heat. But it is, here we're not used to the heat when we do get it. But when I guess the heat advisory kind of sets it off, or whatever they're doing right now, it's when it does not, when it's expected to not get under a certain temperature even at night. So if it's above a certain level even at night, that's where it gets bad, because then it compounds into the next day where it just stays hot and then you don't get a chance to cool down. My house upstairs, everybody's huddled into one room with the AC, a little room, because it was staying cool. But the rest of our house is just killer. I had to put blankets and all sorts of stuff over all the windows, and because it was so bad today. It is. I hate hot. I would not like. Where is our normal Seattle weather? Like, I don't understand it. My entire life, our state has just been, here at least, has been like completely rainy three chunks out of the year, and then one chunk was summer. Even during summer, it was like 70 was a nice day, right? Now, the last few years, we have been getting this insane heat. We've been getting fires. We've been getting smoke. It's making the summers horrible. But yeah, I don't know how many of you guys are in Washington or in my area, but man, it is just killing me. And by the way, this isn't even bad. Like every other place is 10 times worse. You've got 120 degree temperatures for 20 days straight in Arizona a couple weeks ago. It's like, I don't know how people could live with that. That's just absolutely nuts to me. And then Julian Assange, fresh hope for WikiLeaks founder as U.S. Ambassador Caroline Kennedy flags potential plea deal. It says that U.S. Ambassador to Australia Caroline Kennedy has hinted at a possible deal to allow WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to return to Australia. Mr. Assange has been facing extradition to the U.S. on spying charges for more than a decade and claimed sanctuary in London's Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years. But now Ambassador Kennedy has said that a solution could be in the pipeline to end the long-running saga. It says that it's not really a diplomatic issue, but I think that there absolutely could be a resolution. She has told the Sydney Morning Herald. It says there is a way to resolve it. But she stressed that any potential agreement was, quote, up to the Justice Department. Mr. Assange has been fighting the British legal system for years to avoid being sent to the U.S., where he faces 17 charges of espionage and 1 charge of computer misuse over WikiLeaks' publication of classified diplomatic and military documents. The charge relates to the massive data release of top-secret military information by U.S. serviceman whistleblower Chelsea Manning in the 2010 Cablegate scandal. 250,000 publicly embarrassing and military-sensitive U.S. diplomatic cables were released on Mr. Assange's WikiLeaks site. The leak sparked a criminal investigation into WikiLeaks, and Mr. Assange, who was simultaneously accused of sexually assaulting 2 women in Sweden, which he denied, and the charges were later dropped in 2019. Which, by the way, and maybe he did do this, the accused of assaulting, but isn't it just so common for if somebody screws over the government, magically they have like charges, or if the people at the top don't like you, all of a sudden now you have accusations coming out of left field of stuff like this. He very well could have done that. But what I've noticed is a pattern of anybody who ends up screwing over the government magically has these like horrible events come out. These skeletons in the closet and that nobody expects, and that everybody that knows them says, no, that's not how that person is. It's just it's kind of messed up. I don't know about his case because I think back in 2010, I wasn't following it. But as it went on, they were later dropped in 2019. It just makes you think about all these other people that have these accusations that go on. Think about this. Our same government we trust to hold everything down will also, in the same right, for justice or for national security, will literally frame an innocent person, or say that they've done something horrendous, or put stuff on their computer that makes them look like the worst monster as part of national security. They'll take people out. They literally take people's lives. They have taken innocent lives. There's collateral damage where innocent people perish so they can take out somebody that's on their hit list. Like, to me, it's just crazy because they essentially put people to death all the time for being murderers, but the government itself is legally able to do it, and they do it all the time. And they're legally able to lie to you. They're legally able to cover it up, and they're legally able to basically avoid any kind of charges. So just kind of makes you think, right? And then Chinese military says it's figured out how to build infinite laser weapons. Oh, great. This is a big Dex, what are infinite laser weapons?
So, and Adam, let me know if you're hearing an audio issue, because everybody said I'm fading out both times I spoke last time. So, but infinite laser, this is a huge breakthrough if it's true. It's coming from China. They're saying they did it. For those of you that don't know, when you fire a high-powered laser beam, it can't be sustained for very long because the heat builds up and then the laser beam sort of breaks down, or as they call it, it goes haywire. They need a way to cool these things in addition to needing a lot of energy to produce them. But what they've done is they've said they've leveraged a gas cooling system that can actually blow a cooling gas through the weapon, through the laser as it's firing it, so that they can sustain it basically indefinitely. They've been able to get rid of the heat problem that is created when you light up a high-powered laser. So this is a big breakthrough. It doesn't sound like it's in production. It's more in the R&D phase where they've said, hey, we've proven this theory. We ran this gas through it, and we can run a laser beam for much longer than we could in the past. So yeah, that's if this is true, this will be a big breakthrough, and maybe something that gives them an advantage. Although it sounds like it might be something that others will be able to quickly figure out now that they've sort of talked about it. I don't know how much secret sauce is inside here as far as what kind of gas and how it's done. But yeah, kind of interesting for sure.
And of course, it has to be China that figures it out, right? And then we have private MiG-23 flogger. And by the way, I haven't heard anything, Dex. People said that you were fading. But
yeah, I keep hearing it on the replay, but I don't hear it between you and me. We sound fine.
Yeah, I don't hear it. I don't hear it at all. So, and then private MiG-23 flogger crashes in Michigan. A privately owned MiG-23 UB flogger crashed Sunday at the conclusion of the Thunder over Michigan air show in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Hopefully I said that right. Is there a missing letter, or is that literally how it's spelled? Ypsilanti, Michigan. Video shows the MiG in a shallow left turn before two crew on board eject. The stricken MiG then careened into the ground. It says that WDIV reports both crew members ejected safely and have been recovered from the water, but there is no information yet on injuries, if any, on the ground. So that was quite exciting for the people that went to the show. Pretty terrifying, I'm sure, for the pilots. Real quick, make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. Get freeze-dried food, again, at a huge discount. And of course, you'll be helping support our channel at the same time. This is freeze-dried food that will last longer than 25 years, so over 2 decades. And of course, in 20 years from now, if you want to add water and cook, you have food just as it was packaged 2 decades prior. That is the really cool part about freeze-dried. It lasts a very long time, and it holds in a lot of the flavor, and it takes up very little space because essentially it sucks all the water molecules out of it, and it seals it, vacuum packs it, and then keeps it basically perfect for you until you need it. It's very good for disasters, for earthquakes, for whatever may come your way, whether it be SHTF or not. It's a very, very good thing to have on hand. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. And then we have Elon Musk says that he's going to fight Mark Zuckerberg tonight at his home. I thought they were going to do a peaceful debate, but apparently it's going to be quicker than that. Dex, go ahead.
This is this whole thing is just getting out of hand. But apparently, he made a tweet saying that he was going to test the new FSD drive system in Palo Alto, and he'll ask the car to take him over to at Fink D's house, which that's Zuckerberg's Twitter handle from years ago. He hasn't ever used it though, or recently at all. And he said we'll also test the latest X live stream videos so you can monitor our adventures in real time. If we get lucky and Zuck may actually answer the door, the fight is on, he says. So he didn't say he was going there to do that. I think he was just trolling the world, so to speak. But I love how these guys always take this stuff and spin it. But yes, at the same time, though, Zuck has sort of thrown out there himself on his own platform that he doesn't think Musk is for real, and he also insinuated that even the whole notion of going to Italy was not necessarily agreed upon by them. So, but it is true, Zuck apparently is so into his mixed martial arts that he has a cage in his backyard. So I guess if he did go over there, they could have a sparring match at Zuck's house.
Yeah. Okay. So wasn't it Facebook that had the escape slide? Wasn't it Facebook headquarters?
Yes, he had that down to some sort of slide from his office down to the parking garage
to his car. So if you didn't follow this, like a year and a half ago, we covered that Zuckerberg from his office was it California? Wasn't it California?
Yes.
Not only is it more like a compound than an office, it's got like 10-foot walls and like laser things. Like if somebody comes in, they know about it. It's kind of like a White House kind of barrier, right? He also has a slide, no joke, a slide that goes from his office, directly in his office, all the way down to the parking garage and to his car. Now, you could say that this is just like every freaking comedy that makes out, these big tech billionaires, like they're doing yoga in their office or they've got some sort of drone that brings them their yogurt or something, right? But that's how these guys really are. And then he says he's got like some sort of, fighting cage in his backyard. I can't imagine what these guys must do with their money. We're talking about more money than we could ever imagine. More money than we could spend in a lifetime. Most people that win the lottery, when it's above a certain thing, like they can't even spend their money. Somehow these guys do. The only people that do spend their billions of dollars are the ones who invest in huge, skyscrapers or giant companies or this or that. But it's actually hard to spend that much money. People go, oh, no, it's not. It is, unless you are just completely wasting it and, just going nuts. I could not imagine what these guys do at their houses. And it makes you think about how the difference is of us and this level of people that are so far above anything we could even imagine. Even if some of you are wealthy, like millionaires or multimillionaires, that's not even much anymore. We're talking about billions where they could take the interest in something and go buy a submarine or something, the interest in what their money makes, and go buy a military submarine. It is just absolutely insane to think about what these guys do for fun. And that brings you to the fact that these rich people have so much money that they can do anything. And once you can do anything, you start looking for things that you can't do. And that's why I think a lot of these guys do nasty and horrible things, is because they have the ability to do anything. So it becomes mundane and boring. So they try to do things that basically, if you have enough money, you can do anything. That's why I think that these people are warped. That's why I think Hollyweird is warped. I think all of this is warped. That's why people are so interested in the fact that Elon, even though he has billions of dollars, said that he was like living in a $50,000 pod. It's so weird to us. I think that's why he stuck out and so many people are, his fans. But who knows what they're really doing? Kind of like Sam Bankman-Fried drives a Toyota, right? It's a bunch of BS for his reputation. And then small Kansas newspaper says co-owner 98 collapsed and perished after police raid. John Mayer, the 98-year-old co-owner of a small Kansas newspaper, collapsed and died at her home on Saturday, the day after police raided her home and the Marion County Records Office, the newspaper said. Mayer had been, quote, stressed beyond her limits and overwhelmed by hours of shock and grief, the record said, calling the raids illegal. Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody on Saturday defended the raid and said that once all the information is available, the judicial system that's being questioned will be vindicated. Police have not shared any updates since Meyer's death was announced. Police took Meyer's computer and router used by an Alexa smart speaker during the raid at her home. According to the paper, officers at the records office seized personal cell phones, computers, newspaper files, server, and other equipment. I just want to point out here, did you notice they took the Alexa, a router used by an Alexa smart speaker? I hope you know if you do have these smart devices in your house, and I know some of you do, and half of you won't admit it because you know how this community is, and everybody's going, well, you're stupid for doing that. I know a lot of you have smart speakers, smart this, smart that, Alexa, Siri, everything else. If you have an Apple, you can hardly help it, right? Or Android. But those smart speakers, when they do raids and things, they snatch them right away. Why would you ever put something in your house that literally records you and just say there's some sort of accident? Say you are innocent, but something happens. Some guy robs you, like literally comes into your house, breaks into your house. You have to defend yourself. And then the guy gets hurt and ends up suing you for breaking into your house, and you end up taking the guy's life. And then all of a sudden you're going away because they have recording on an Alexa. Like, I just don't get why people do the Alexa smart speaker thing. We know for a fact, since these things started, that they've been using them. They're able to access previous time on them. It's just messed up. But this is really sad because this person actually perished. It says our first priority is be able to publish next week, but we also want to make sure no other news organization is ever exposed to the Gestapo tactics we witnessed today. We'll be seeking the maximum sanctions possible under law. It says the Federal Privacy Protection Act protects journalists and newsrooms from most searches by law enforcement, requiring police usually to issue subpoenas rather than search warrants. It says it is true that in most cases it requires police to use subpoenas rather than search warrants to search the premises of journalists unless they themselves are suspects in the offense that is the subject of the search. Friday's raid was conducted on the basis of a search warrant. The search warrant, posted online by the Kansas Reflector, indicates that police were investigating identity theft and unlawful acts concerning computers. It also indicated police were looking for documents and records pertaining to local restaurateur Carrie Newell. According to the record, Newell had accused the newspaper of illegally obtaining drunk driving information about Newell and supplying it to Marion Councilwoman Ruth Herbal. This sounds shady as heck. It says that the record did not seek out the information, the newspaper wrote. Rather, it was provided by a source that sent it to the newspaper via social media, and it also sent it to Herbal. The record verified the information about the Newell through the public records, but did not plan to publish it, believing the information had, quote, been intentionally leaked to the newspaper as part of a legal sparring between Newell and her estranged husband, the paper wrote. It says the victims asks that we do all the law allows to ensure justice is served. The Marion Kansas Police Department will do nothing less. Dex, this sounds like there's so much stuff in there. This is probably going to be a TV movie at some point. It sounds like that somebody's connected or something. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small town. It's a small paper. Most people probably wouldn't even heard of this, but it's also like you never hear of the police raiding a newspaper. And, like it said, there's protections in place that prevent that. So when it does happen, it's kind of a big deal. And then now we have this perished owner who had passed in the process. That if it comes out later that their rights were violated by this search, then that's going to bring about a very big question is, what were the ramifications of that search? And obviously this owner, albeit they were very old, but nonetheless, if they can prove that it's because of this event that's what caused them to perish, that adds a whole nother wrinkle to this. Let alone the fact that,
Wrinkle.
like you said, yeah, sorry. Let alone the fact that you talked about the Alexa stuff, which was really important. I'm glad you brought that up. And then just looking through like what type of layers are in here of power, potential corruption, potential overreach, or none. Or maybe it's all, maybe law enforcement and everyone here is absolutely 100% correct, and we'll find out, just like they said, that this person was doing something very wrong. That's fine. Let's figure it out. But this one certainly looks like it's ripe, like you said, for a mini TV movie or something.
Cindy Griffin, I don't. It doesn't show anything going out that he's fading. Dex, did you hear fading this time?
No, not this time. I did hear it those 2 times I mentioned, but I haven't heard it since then.
I only heard a slight lower, and I fixed that was like my headphones. So I don't think you guys can hear that. I don't think you guys can hear what comes out of my earphones. Let's see here. T-Rex, Annie, you saw that too. Yes, true. FEMA providing money to displaced Maui residents for food necessities finally. So, by the way, there was also videos of this one guy, and it looks believable because the guy just seems genuine, but he says, oh, well, the government won't release the food or the supplies because we're not part of FEMA and we're not part of Hawaii. But Hawaii is part of FEMA Region 9, so that doesn't make sense. And then the Hawaii Red Cross is also, there's the Hawaii Red Cross says, oh, we're not part of either, so they won't release it. I wonder if he misunderstood that or something, but that was a video that went more than viral. I mean, I saw and by the way, multiple people reposted it, so the version I saw was like 4 million views or something. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and in the earlier article we talked about, it said that FEMA was there doing the searches on the homes. So they're there. Probably maybe some coordination issues, but man, I hope they get their act together, because I know a lot of people there are really hurting right now.
I don't know. I don't know if you're watching, Sis, but if you wanted to call in, I would love to hear kind of the insider story on what happened here. Yeah, nuts. Former president actually made a statement on Maui. And actually, Dex, did you know that even Obama made a statement about the fires? And he specifically asked people to donate to the Red Cross. So both of our former presidents said something about it, but our current one, no comment. Apparently, as chat said, he doesn't care. Well, I don't know what's true, but don't know why that would be a thing. You would think he would at least say sending prayers and positive thoughts. What is it now, though? The politically correct thing now, they just say, "Oh, we're giving vibes to the sky god or something." Or no, they don't have a god. We're giving vibes to the air or something. Is that what the Congress says now? I don't know. All right, and Dex, let's go over the web only. Before we do, I do want to say thank you to Robert Sutera. Thank you, if I'm saying that right. Thank you, says, things are going to get worse. Before they get worse, it's the end of the world as we know it. What did you expect it to look like? Marantha equals only hope. Robert Sutera, I thought you were going to say things are going to get worse before they get better. But nope. I think that it's going to be a restructuring of world governments, and I think it's going to be a completely different world that we live in just a few short years. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know what you think. I would love to hear it. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. I hope you're having a good cup of joe and enjoyed tonight's show. I think any event may happen overnight. Our time due to time zone differences. Be vigilant during night times. Fewer LEO military activities. LAPD SWAT 1. I think that it would happen on like a Friday. I think it will happen on a week. I think the Beyond the Pale Horse got that one down. I think that it's going to happen on like a holiday weekend, and everything's going to go down on a Friday. That's what I think. But who knows? Maybe we'll get surprised on a Wednesday morning or something. All right, and then Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff. So, folks, head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right to the webpage with all of the links, sources, articles, tweets, everything we've talked about tonight. You'll find this yellow bar says overflow. This is the rest of the story. There's a lot more information in here about what's going on in Maui. They're asking for patience because the speed at which they're not moving, and things aren't going as fast as the families there want. Of course, there's so many missing people now. They're trying to get DNA so they can help identify remains. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the toll is up close to 100. It'll probably grow beyond that, I'm sure, as the days come, as we learn more. There's a really interesting article, and this goes hand in hand with what a lot of people are talking about, and I absolutely think it's important to read. And it's the Lahaina residents worry about a rebuilt Maui town could slip into the hands of affluent outsiders. This absolutely happens all the time, anywhere in America, when anything gets blighted, whether it be from a natural disaster or just from time. It is an ideal opportunity for the rich to jump in and buy up, and it's happened. There's some speculation about Oprah. I don't know the facts on her, but people are talking about it, so it could be true, it could not be. She's purchased a bunch of land there. I can tell you, one of the people, Larry Ellison, owns an entire island, everything except like this small amount of land that the original people that live on the island. He owns 90-something% of the entire island there, not Maui, but I think it's Lanai. But it's not going. That is absolutely something that will very likely happen. So pay attention as this evolves, into the rebuild process. That's going to be very interesting to pay attention to. So take a look at that. We do have some updates from Russia and UKR. Even Kim Jong-un was ramping up some of the weapons, which we had talked about in the past, but I think they're talking specifically about some of the missiles and other munitions. And my suspicion is that is because of Shogu, or who I think it was Shogu, who went over there and met with them, wanting to get that stuff sold over to Russia. So expect to see that. There is a meeting with the Chinese defense minister that's coming up in Russia and Belarus. So we'll probably be covering that as it gets closer, but that's been announced that's happening. Of course, the T-Man saga continues, and if you didn't hear, it happened while we were on the show. I guess the next round of indictments has come out of Georgia, my state where I live. 10 new charges: solicitation of violation of oath of public office, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, and more. In addition to T-Man, they went after Meadows, Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Kenneth Chelsebro, Jeff Clark, and maybe somebody else. They all have until the 25th, which is next Friday, to turn themselves in. So I guess Georgia, and apparently they said there may even be a mugshot opportunity this go round, because that's just the way Georgia, or I shouldn't say Georgia, it's Atlanta. Atlanta's going to fly. So that's all covered. A lot of it's kind of outdated since the information just came out tonight. So we do have a link on the latest on the indictments. If you want to read that, it's there. I got the rest of the stuff with the political spectrum and what's happening there. Is also that movie that we can't talk about for some strange reason, because it keeps getting hit on the platform. There's an interesting article from the director giving his point of view. Definitely a good read. Go take a look at it. It's on our website. Just go to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or click that show notes link down below. It'll take you right here. You can find all of this and so much more. Everything I didn't even cover. So plenty more there for you. We do it every night.
And I was trying to find a video of the other crazy fire that was happening. In fact, actually, Derek just posted this video of the Oregon evacuation orders issued, bedrock fires in Oregon. There's lots of crazy fires. When I was on my trip, it was Washington. Parts of Washington were lit up. There are fires all over the place with this heat, but It seems like it's getting worse every year. I wonder what the stats are on just globally, if how bad fires are getting. It just seems like there's more and more and more. Looks like hell on earth in some places. So, anyways, you guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you. There's a lot of great stuff on our website, so don't miss it, all right? And again, thank you, everybody. Thank your mods, dropping them in the chat. Thank you so much for everybody who popped in, and thank you for all of you morning watchers that ended up watching the whole show. So thank you, and thank you for our top supporter tonight. Thank you again. That was Carol. Thank you so very much. Over on D Live, very special thank you. Thank you so much, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, for hosting as well. SM879, thank you, and thank you. We've got Kiki Gray. We've got Kimbria, Karen from Columbus, Scooby-Doo Do-Right. We have Poco Loco, Comet Moon, Yobi, Vault. Hey, thanks for being here. Hope you're still making music and, still making better music. A lot better than mine. Go over and check out Vault on D Live. Badger One, trust in God, never trust anything DC says. I agree with that. I believe the apocalypse is upon us very soon. Vault, I don't know if it's the apocalypse, but it's definitely the end of whatever we got going on now. And then Chance, thank you. Cookielicious, Scooby-Doo, Bug Nana, and everybody else. Thank you, and thank you. Dex, thank you for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared, and marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people.
All right, I'm gonna have to switch some stuff here.
I said woo-ha, I said the woo-ha, in on the woo-ha. I got the Modoc right on the rough start. April sky and the hola. I said hola, and the mahalo. I got Gale fire on the fire stove. I said the Mars. Hey, thank are you? I got ding it, whoa. Got a chestina, a Harley Berg, and I say yeah, I said a one bar too. I got a Christina Christon, I got a low, hey, I with a Kiru, a bug and a bug nana. I got a Marianne Kinzel, and God bless, everybody go back with the best. Oh, hey, who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? running the planet. Everybody knows that it's not good, people. I went to Tony P. I got a Lord Angel and a cookie hookie-licious and a Scooby-Doo, alright. A bug man and everything's gonna be alright. A Magnus rhythm and the toadie's right. An alien creatures running the planet. I got the Pamar, he doesn't care. Get the F out, J on the bear. Hey, I with a chance paladin, insectulins in the gray on way. I got weight now, I with the Andrew Simpson. Everybody knows that we've been way. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Who's running the planet? Everybody knows that it's not good, people. Who's running the planet? Carol, let's make a fresh one for Carol. 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 If you want to do it together. I'm yours, better in your eyes. If you want to do it together. I'm yours, better in your eyes. Everybody knows it's gonna be that way. I say I'm gonna go. I've been a Pharisee and we always know. I say a giant right, man is back. Everybody know, I know that. I said it hope not back, it's so bad. Oh, mama knows in the old line. I said over there, Scooby-Doo right. Then when ACKT cleans a lot. Everybody knows that the time it is. I Scooby-Doo right. I'm out. I said a cookie on the list in the chain, tell it then. Jody, you know, in the Mr. Jim. I said a cookie on the list and a good night, y'all. Black sheep, everybody else stand tall. Hey, I got a Carol. Carol, 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 Carol.
Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol. Carol.